Hello everyone, it's the FPL Grandmaster back again with another YouTube video for you guys. We're going to go straight into the game week 24 review. A very, very good week for me. Another green arrow, finally a green arrow after another green arrow. We're building a bit of momentum here. I think all the things that needed to go right this week went well. The captaincy, Bruno Fernandes with the 10 points doubled for 20. The forward line, each of them got at least one attacking return, two goals, one assist amongst the forwards. I'm very happy with that. Haaland not really delivering as much as he should for the price, but given I went against him for captaincy, it worked out better for me. In defense, Gabriel doing what he does always, delivering more points, clean sheet, DEFCON, just as he wanted really. And Mukiele at his price point, delivering again with a clean sheet and an assist, is very unlucky to not get at least one bonus point. Sunderland just did very well in their game on Monday night. So it's one of those situations, but really not much to complain about. And then of course Semenyo scoring in the game against Spurs also for Man City. So a very good week for me in game week 24. Plenty of attacking returns for my team. Going on to the bench, that's where a bit of the concerns are coming out this week. Two yellow flags for game week 25. Dorgu out for, I believe, another 9 weeks, something like that. So that'll be something to consider for sure. But one free transfer, we can kind of look at how we can fix that. But I'd say I'm quite happy with how this week's gone. Finally into the top 3 million, which is still a mountain to climb, I think, for sure. But we're definitely on the right track now, making steady progress. We'll take a look at game week 25. So in terms of that, there's a bit to consider here. First of all, captaincy. A lot of people will be captaining Fernandes again, I think, with Tottenham at home. Not sure. I mean, the thing with Tottenham is they've been very bad this season, so it's always kind of tempting to captain someone playing them. United at home as well. Carrick's got 3 wins in his first 3 games for United, so they look quite good. But I'm kind of tempted to go against and to captain Gabriel this week instead. Just I think the Arsenal defense look very solid at the moment, and they're at home. Sunderland, they did put three past Burnley, but I mean it's Burnley. They're second bottom for in the league for a reason this season, So I think my chances of a clean sheet are relatively secure. Of course, you never know. It just takes one goal, but I'm quite confident there. So I'm kind of willing to play the game and give Gabriel the captaincy this week. Krupi probably goes to the bench. I think that's what I'd ideally do, but he's there if I need him. The There is an issue of Dorgu being out, and right now only zero point 0.1 million in the bank, so not really enough to be able to move him on at the moment. I probably need to free up funds first if I was going to do that. So I mean, Saka's probably the most likely source of that. Bruno, I could get someone else in, but probably be around the same price point. If at most maybe half a million less. But I think it's most likely Saka that gets moved on. I'm not completely sure. Of course, the Carabao Cup game is tonight, so there's that to think about. If he plays, then it's probably not the most urgent move, especially with a likely double game week for him coming up in 26. And you might notice currently we can quickly take a look. 26. My plan is to triple captain Gabriel that week. I just think he's the standout really for that. But it does give us other things to worry about as well, namely the defense. I might have to play Mukiele there, so that might serve as another reason to kind of get rid of Saka this week. Maybe go for Rice now, so that way I still have the Arsenal coverage. Of course, I'll wait until after the game tonight to make that decision. But if Arsenal do go through, I think, and if Saka's out, even if he's not out because he hasn't really been delivering, I still think that this move to Rice this week might be something to consider. And then if I'm gonna go to game week 26 and Arsenal do have a double, then maybe I can upgrade Dorgu to Timber. That way I have triple Arsenal in that week. So I'm well covered. And the projection 91.4 points that week. So it looks good. This week, projection's not as good. 58.1. Not not ideal. If we take a look at the relative um projection, which is how I'm likely to do in comparison to the average, it looks like it might be a bit of a tight week. So it's yeah, it might be one of those weeks where it could be a small red potentially. Hopefully we can get it right, but it's kind of hard to tell. I think a lot of it is obviously, I mean, the City Liverpool game being this week kind of dampens things a bit of uncertainty with some of the injury situations. So that's something that I'm a little bit worried about. But I mean, with the defense, they all look like they have decent enough fixtures, and a lot of the points this season have been in defense. So with that, I think that fills me with a bit of optimism. But Njai, for example, hasn't really been delivering. I hope Guimaraes can come back soon, but it's hard to know. And even if he does play in midweek, and that might be, I mean, that's a big game, so maybe he does. That's not really a guarantee he plays against Brentford at home, and that's kind of the game you'd want him for. So there's a bit of concern here in the team, but in a given season, you're gonna have weeks where you kind of had to make a bit of a sacrifice just to do better later on. So that's as much as I can say for now with this. Of course, I mean we can briefly consider what happens if Chelsea win tonight instead. I think it's roughly the same moves. It's probably instead of Rice, maybe it's just Enzo Fernandez, for example. And then I probably don't captain Gabriel this week. Maybe it's Enzo instead, potentially. I think that's an option for sure. And then maybe I bring in Chalobah as well into defense. I mean, it feels a bit weird to captain Enzo Fernandez because you don't know for sure with him. It feels like it's a lot less certain, but I think that's where I'd go. I probably wouldn't go for triple captain though if Chelsea do go through. But even this week, if it goes this way, it might even be better in a sense because I have the three doubles from Chelsea and Njai as well. So I'm pretty prepared either way. The doubles aren't too much of a concern for me, but yeah, that's how it looks at the moment. We can quickly also consider what a wild card might look like for Game Week 25. I probably wouldn't recommend a wild card this week, but I mean, if you're gonna make one, I think you have to wait until at least tonight just to know who's gone through and who's gonna double in 26. So, I mean, as you can see, it's kind of I've gone with Raya in goal. I mentioned it last week in the wild card. Also, if it is in fact Arsenal that go through to the Carabao Cup final, then you have the headache of in game week 31, Arsenal will blank. And having an Arsenal goalkeeper is a lot easier of a situation to manage because you can just bench the goalkeeper for Dubravka, who in that week has Fulham, which is hardly the worst fixture to have, I think, for your rotation goalkeeper. So I think that kind of mitigates that a little bit. And then obviously you end up having to match Gabriel, Rice, Haaland, but you have a couple transfers, so if you need to, you can move one of them on if need be. And you'll notice I've gone without Palace as well because City will also have a game in the Carabao Cup this week. And if they go through, then this game between City and Palace does not happen in 31. Therefore, City blank and Palace do too. So no City players in the team for that reason, just to avoid and having to make transfers or having to book in transfers ahead of time. I think Gabriel and Chalobah, you kind of play most weeks. And then all three of these defenders, Senesi, Anderson, Mukiele, they're good for returns. Senesi, Anderson, good for DEFCON. Mukiele is good for DEFCON as well. Pretty good. But he's also good for attacking returns. I think he's got assists in his last three now. So he's been very solid, especially for the price. I think even at 4.5, he's a great value for money. Probably one of the best, cheaper defenders in the game. And then in the midfield, not much really all that different, I think. I think you'd expect most of these players to be here. Rice, and Enzo, I mean, I think they're there in like irrespective of who goes through. I think they're both decent options. Fernandez has been very good as of late, showing he's got multiple routes to points, 2 assists in the previous game. Rogers, I still think he's the most nailed, so he's because of the minutes, I think he's the best option in the Villa team. And Anderson, I haven't really talked too much about him recently, but I think there's often a bias in FPL to go for the more explosive plays, but as you can see, he's fairly reliable. Like his DEFCON numbers are ridiculous. Like he's hit DEFCON. When's the last time he didn't hit DEFCON? In the Spurs game back in game week 16, right? So he hits DEFCON quite often. And sometimes, like especially in weeks where the points aren't guaranteed, you need a player like that to kind of steady the ship a bit and to minimize a red arrow. So I think it's handy to have a player like that. Then in the attack, Haaland, he's not been wonderful. And to be fair, like I think increasingly the case to get rid of him is starting to grow a bit more. I still probably wouldn't do it, mainly because I mean the ownership is just still rocket, like to the moon basically. 70.9%. I just wouldn't be looking to do that. But if you really don't see him delivering in future games. Maybe you do go against him. It feels a bit risky. I think with the captaincy, I'm willing to take the risk going against him, but going without him entirely, I think, is a different question altogether. And then Bowen, he's been good now. When I got him at first, I was really frustrated because he blanked and then Thiago delivered big. But I think he's almost there to matching him now because Thiago's blanked in the last two and Bowen's delivered in both of those. So he's back on track for sure. Krupi, I think, is a good option. I mean, maybe very briefly, you might also want to have a look at Mane, especially if Arsenal do double. But I probably wouldn't do that because I don't think the upside with Mane is there enough to justify it. And on top of it, it's just another issue with your bench in game week 31. Whereas, I mean, you could very plausibly just play Krupi against Man United if you wanted to. Like, I probably wouldn't do it. I would probably transfer out one of the Arsenal players, probably Rice ahead of that. But you could easily just play Krupi and keep Rice and Gabriel. And I don't think you'd get rid of Haaland that week either. So yeah, that's those are my thoughts ahead of game week 25. There's a lot to consider. If you want to set up for a bench boost, I mean, you could wildcard this week as well. And I think it's also very plausible. But yeah, it's probably not something I'd recommend. I think if I was going to wildcard, I'd prefer to set up much of the rest of the season. So this is what I would opt to go with. But I hope you all found that useful. Please don't forget to subscribe and like if you haven't already. Please leave some comments down below. Also, give me any suggestions, anything you'd like to be covered in future videos. If you have any questions about transfers, just drop them down below. I'll reply. Just let me know. But yeah, thank you for watching as always. I've been the FPL Grandmaster.